Hello, beautiful soul. I know how challenging and heavy this life can often feel, especially when trauma, stress, or grief can leave your body, soul, and spirit feeling exhausted or overwhelmed. But what if I told you there's one essential practice that can bring restoration to your nervous system and peace to your entire being? And that it's something even God Himself set aside time for. Hi, my name is Melanie Hope, and I created this channel to help other women find freedom, wholeness, and healing from their trauma by sharing the tools and principles that God revealed to me on my own healing and transformation journey. So, what is this essential practice to support your nervous system health that even our Messiah turned to? It's rest. But I'm not just talking about a good night's sleep sort of rest, even though that's important too. I'm talking about rest for your entire being, body, soul, and spirit. Jesus gives us an invitation in Matthew 11:28 through 30 by saying, "Come to me, all who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls." The Greek word there that's used for rest translates further into quiet from occupation, oppression, or torment. And it's also a synonym for a word that translates into peace. So, right there, we can see that Jesus is inviting us into a place of rest for our minds and our emotions, a rest from the torment and the oppression of our spiritual enemy. So let's first look at three keys that we can gather from this passage that I believe are important for a faith-based approach to healing. The first key is a partnership in life with Jesus. When Jesus uses the term yoke, take my yoke from me, you can take the agricultural meaning of the word yoke to further understand what he is talking about here. When you have two animals that are yoked together, they are essentially tied together and they work as a team. So when Jesus is saying, "Take my yoke from me and learn from me," he's implying that being yoked to him is working alongside of him. This is rather than carrying your own burdens in this life on your own, he's saying, yoke yourself to me, be a team with me, and I will help you carry those burdens. And then the next key we can see from this passage is discipleship and learning. Jesus is looking to teach us his ways. To take his yoke is to accept his guidance and his leadership and to learn his ways, transforming us through humility and gentleness, basically taking on his characteristics and his attributes. And then the third key I believe is important here is the principle of soul rest. The rest that he promises is not necessarily absence of physical labor. It is a deep peace and relief from mental, emotional, and spiritual burdens and weariness of this life. Jesus is literally inviting us into a relationship with him where he walks alongside us and he helps us carry the burdens of life, and he gives our soul, our mind, and our emotions and our spirit relief from the heaviness of this life. Your mind and your emotions, your soul longs for this kind of rest. When you lay your burdens at Jesus' feet and you walk alongside him in this life, you allow your soul to find peace. Your body follows, your nervous system regulates, and your spirit reconnects with the one who made you. God Himself sets the example of rest in Genesis 2:2 and 3 by resting on the seventh day after creation. And then He instructs us in Exodus 20:8 through 10 to do the same thing. So rest is not optional, it's essential to living our best life. It protects your physical, your mental, your emotional, and your spiritual well being. Rest is such a necessary and essential practice for your body, soul, and spirit that God set aside an entire day out of the week to devote to it. But again, we're not just talking about physical rest, we're talking about rest for your entire being, body, soul, and spirit. And this sort of rest can be difficult, especially in our busy modern culture. It can actually take self-discipline to embody and experience and enjoy. A hurried mentality can actually deceive you into believing that rest is a reward, when really it's a command. God designed rest for your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual protection. When you're constantly striving and doing and going and rushing, your mind and emotions can run wild, leaving your soul feeling restless and overwhelmed until ultimately you realize that you've been misplacing your purpose, attaching it to your performance instead of placing it in Jesus. Finding your purpose in the person of Jesus is where you will find true rest, and you have to fight to get there. When Jesus says, "Come to me, all who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest," He's inviting you into a safe space to cultivate rhythms of rest. You can cultivate rhythms or patterns of rest into your days and weeks by most simply just slowing down. Intentional rest helps to regulate your nervous system and to create a healthy baseline of inner safety. Slow living is a lifestyle that invites you to live more meaningfully and intentionally by slowing down and appreciating what you have and the world around you. It's achieved by finding joy in life's simple pleasures, prioritizing what's more important, and adopting a more leisurely pace. So, how do you actually practice this sort of deep restorative rest for your entire being? Let's go over 3 faith-based approaches to cultivate rhythms of rest in your daily life. Let's start off with the body. These are going to be more somatic focused rhythms of rest. The most simple and easiest one is to just slow your body down. This is extremely important for women, especially because we tend to be multitaskers. We are doing, going constantly, and we're doing and going at more than one thing at a time. And this has been one that has been challenging for me, but has been so rewarding to just slow down, to just take my time, to just realize that it's okay. I don't have to get it done in X amount of time. I'm not saying that you don't set goals for yourself or that you strive to achieve certain things, a to-do list, but I'm just saying check your pace. Make sure that you're not pushing yourself too much. It's really important as a woman to just slow down, to just enjoy the experience. Even if you're doing something that's not necessarily enjoyable, it can become more enjoyable when you're in the moment with it and when you're present with it. So, the number one thing for your body to cultivate a rhythm of rest is to just slow down. The next ones that are helpful in creating rhythms of rest are stretching, soaking in a warm bath, especially throw in some bubbles or some Epsom salt or something that gives you a nice sensory experience with smells. You can take a walk in nature. And again, slow down, not just your pace, but notice the beauty around you, notice the sounds, make it a sensory experience. You can enjoy the sunlight, go outside, soak up the sun, feel it on your skin. Even if this is just 5, 10, 15 minutes, try to incorporate this into your days as much as possible. Sun is truly healing. You can take a nap. That's not always possible for all of us, especially moms. And it's not always necessarily what you need, but sometimes your body is asking for a nap. And even if it's not one that you fall asleep during, just lay down, just rest, just take in the sense of relaxing. Again, even if it's just 5 or 10 minutes. Or you can just simply relax in cozy clothes. Just get on a pair of soft socks and soft pants and just something cozy. Get a soft blanket and just relax. It doesn't have to be for a long period of time, but just enjoy the sensory experience of feeling those soft fabrics against your skin. The ultimate key and takeaway here for cultivating a rhythm of somatic rest is just to simply treat your body gently, to remember that it's the vehicle that God gave you for life and for healing. All right, then we're going to move into cultivating rhythms of rest for your soul, for your mind, and for your emotions. You can do this again, number one, most simply by, and it's not always simple here, especially with your mind and your emotions, but slowing down your mind and your emotions. And some practical ways that you can slow down your mind and emotions are going to be things like mindfulness, divine grounding practices, and breath work. I actually have a breath of life somatic sequence that I have linked in the description that you can download for free. And it's a under 10-minute practice. It's a blended somatic practice that focuses on the breath, the very breath that God breathed into us. And it's a really powerful somatic breath practice to just calm your mind and calm your emotions and really practice mindfulness, because it's about being in the present moment, and it really helps to just bring stillness and calmness. Some other things that you can do for your mind and your emotions are visualizations. This is a really significant practice for your soul, for your mind and your emotions, and for rewiring your brain, because your brain's language is images. So when you go into a visualization, same way as when you go into a memory, visualizing the memory, your brain, to it happened. So it's looking at those images and it's real to your brain. And that's why the enemy attacks your mind. That's why he wants you to imagine bad things, negative things, scary things, traumatic things, because he knows that your brain thinks that those things really happened, that it is really happening. And that's why visualizations are an extremely powerful tool for rewiring your brain, because you're showing and telling your brain using its language of images and visuals, something positive, something good. So you can really calm your mind and your emotions using visualizations. I actually try to, it's challenging with children, but I am constantly trying to get my children to try this when they are triggered, when they are in like a highly activated nervous system state. and they're just overwhelmed. And I constantly remind them, go to a place in your mind, close your eyes, and visualize a place that is calming and soothing to you. And when you're in that place, do your best to focus on what you see, what you hear, what you smell, what you taste, what you feel. Incorporate all of your senses into that visualization, and it really becomes a powerful tool to help calm you, bring you peace, and ultimately rewire your brain into healthier patterns. So, beyond that, you can also journal. That's always something good to kind of calm your mind and your emotions, mainly because if you have a lot going through your mind and your emotions, you're kind of purging it onto paper, or typing it, or you could even voice journal. I've done that before. Get out a voice recorder and just unleash, let it all out. You don't always need to like put that on another person, and really sometimes doesn't even need to ever be heard by anyone other than you and God. But it's a way to just purge feelings and thoughts. You can read uplifting or encouraging books. You can read the Word of God. You can play games. That's kind of like a relief from the present moment. You can practice gratitude. That's a really big one, to just calm and settle your mind and your emotions. Focus on what you're grateful for. Every day, actually, it's good to try to think of a few things that you're grateful for, and different things every day. You can also forgive yourself or take a social media detox. That's a big one. Stop scrolling, put your phone down, especially at night, but right before you go to bed. Just that in itself allows your mind and your feelings, your soul, to just rest. So, in these practices to cultivate rhythms of rest for your soul, you're just giving your soul permission to pause and to enjoy the present moment. And that's really what mindfulness is. It's just being present here and now. And then let's move on to the third one, cultivating rhythms of rest for your spirit. This is going to be where you connect with God, where you connect with Jesus. You do this most simply by meditating on His Word, praying, talking to Him, worshiping Him, praising Him, finding praise music that really resonates with your soul, speaks to you, and just sit with it and allow His presence to wash over you. This is what I refer to as soaking in His presence, where you just are still and you just allow the music to speak to you, and you allow His presence, His Spirit, to come, and you sit with that, and you allow images to come to your mind, or you listen to instrumental music that maybe is speaking verses. This is just soaking in God's presence. Resting in Him restores your spirit and strengthens your trust in His perfect care. Incorporating intentional, consistent rhythms of rest for your body, soul, and spirit will regulate and support your nervous system and help create a baseline of peace and safety for your healing and transformation. Rest is not passive, it's active, powerful, and life-giving. You were created for healing, and rest is your divine invitation to receive it. You don't have to do this alone. With Jesus and a faith-based approach, healing your whole being is not only possible, it's inevitable. If you're interested in learning more about a faith-based approach to healing from trauma, I hope to see you in my next video, where I'll be talking about how trauma hijacks your God-given identity. Real quick though, before I go, even though you understand the importance of rest, I know that consistently practicing it while also addressing trauma and stress can feel overwhelming. That's exactly why I created my Victorious program. It's a three-phased, faith-based, holistic trauma healing program for women to help you regulate your nervous system, release stored trauma, rewire your brain, all while deepening your faith and relationship with Jesus. If you're interested in experiencing true and lasting freedom from the damaging effects of your trauma, I want to invite you on a free 15-minute phone call to help you discern if Victorious would be right for you. This is a safe, no pressure space that we can prayerfully discuss where you're at, where you hope to be, and if the program would be a good fit for you. You can find a link in the description box to schedule your call, and you'll also find a Victorious link that you can learn more about the program. You don't have to stay stuck where you are. Victory is already yours through Jesus, and a faith-based, holistic healing approach is how you come into agreement with it.